User RadBradberry1920, the post-it note mystery. In 2015, a Redditor with the username RadBradberry1920 made a post to r/legal advice that started off mildly strange, but quickly spiraled into something far more disturbing. He claimed that post-it notes were randomly appearing in his apartment, written in handwriting that wasn't his. At first, it felt like a prank. Then it began to feel like a breakdown. Here's what he wrote. 1 minute and 59 seconds. On the 15th of April, I found a yellow post-it note on my desk, reminding me of some errands I had to do. Thing is, I never wrote it. It wasn't my handwriting, and I hadn't told anyone about those errands. I brushed it off. Maybe I'd written it in my sleep and just didn't recognize the writing. It creeped me out, but I threw it away. But things didn't stop there. On the 19th of April, I found another note stuck to the back of my desk chair. Same handwriting. This time it said, "Make sure you save your documents." That's when I started to panic. There were no signs of a break-in, no missing items, nothing out of place, just these quiet, invasive notes. So he set up a motion-detecting webcam, pointed at his desk, hoping to catch whoever or whatever was behind it. Then, he returned with a chilling update. May 1st, I found another post-it note outside my apartment door. It was blank. And I noticed that other doors in the complex had blank post-its too, different colors, all empty. 3 minutes and 1 second, I pulled out an old letter from my landlord, and the handwriting matched the notes. What do? I don't want to waste the police's time, but this doesn't feel like something I can ignore. The post took off. Commenters debated whether this was a case of someone gaslighting him, or possibly a mental health issue like dissociation or schizophrenia. But then, one comment stood out from the rest. A user pointed out that his symptoms, memory lapses, confusion, altered handwriting, could all be explained by carbon monoxide poisoning. Carbon monoxide is odorless, invisible, and often fatal if unnoticed. It can make you feel like you're losing your mind, when in reality your brain is being slowly starved of oxygen. So, user RadBradberry1920 bought a CO detector. He plugged it in and then posted this terrifying update. Update. Huge thanks to everyone who offered advice, especially those who told me to get a CO detector, because when I plugged it in by my bedroom, it immediately read 100 ppm. That number, 100 parts per million, is alarmingly high. According to health guidelines, that kind of exposure can cause disorientation, memory loss, and over time, permanent brain damage. Left unchecked, it can lead to death in just a matter of hours. In other words, those post-it notes, they may have been written by him. Just not the version of him that was fully awake. And had that Reddit thread not gone viral, he may have never figured it out. This wasn't just a solved mystery. It was a life saved. User College Burnout 2020, a cry for help that echoed into silence. Reddit has long been a place for people to vent into the void, especially when they feel like they are drowning and no one around them is listening. That's what made the post by College Burnout 2020 on the subreddit r/selfcare in early 2024 so haunting. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't angry. It was just tired. Tired in a way that felt too real. The title of the post was simple. I'm experiencing burnout from college and I don't know what to do. And then came the body of the message. I'm currently a full-time student. I have in-person classes from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day, then Zoom lectures from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I also have a daily 3-hour internship shift, and I work weekends. I know I'm doing a lot, and I feel like I used to be able to handle it, but now I feel like I'm just going through the motions. The way they wrote wasn't frantic, it wasn't even desperate, it felt numb. They continued, I have zero energy for anything anymore. My grades are slipping, I haven't responded to any of my friends' texts in days, and I haven't cleaned my apartment in weeks. I can't even enjoy a show or video game because my mind just feels like static. Then came the line that stuck with many readers. I miss having energy. I miss not feeling like I'm always a second away from collapsing. They weren't looking for a miracle. They were just asking if anyone out there had been through something like this, if anyone had a way out of the fog. But after that post, the user never returned. Their account went silent, no replies, no follow-up post, and eventually deleted. Some commenters offered advice, everything from taking a semester off to checking for underlying health issues. Others just offered compassion, sharing their own similar struggles and urging them to hold on. But no one ever heard from user College Burnout 2020 again. And the reason this one hit so hard, it wasn't some twisted crime or horrifying mystery. It was just a person, young, overwhelmed, overworked, and completely unseen. Someone doing everything they were supposed to do and still falling apart. The kind of burnout they described isn't rare anymore. It's real. It's common. And sometimes it doesn't end with closure. Just silence. We don't know what happened to them. Maybe they're okay. Maybe they got help. Or maybe their quiet unraveling just faded offline. Like so many others. We like to think Reddit gives people a voice. But sometimes, the most painful part is seeing that voice disappear and realizing we never knew who they were to begin with. User sunburnedtourist. I spent a year in a Bangkok prison. Ask me anything. In 2015, Reddit user u/sunburnedtourist shared a harrowing account of his unexpected incarceration in Thailand, titled, I spent a year in a Bangkok prison. Ask me anything. The post began. Hello fellow Redditus. I'm doing this Ask Me Anything because every time I mention it, I get bombarded with questions and requests to do an Ask Me Anything or today I fucked up. People always tell me I should write about it in some form or another. He recounted how a series of poor decisions, compounded by substance abuse, led to his arrest. After a period of sobriety, he decided to take a vacation to Thailand. However, during his return journey, he consumed a significant amount of Valium and alcohol. I had a few chongs, Taiba. Now, alcohol and Valium equals blackout. That's when I would wake up in police cells, or in a hospital, handcuffed to the bed with 2 police officers in the room. In this impaired state, he inadvertently shoplifted from a duty-free store. I went into duty-free and walked out with a basket of cigarettes, whiskey, and aftershave. As you do. I mean, I didn't even know where I was and probably couldn't tell you my name in that state. Upon realizing his mistake, he attempted to rectify the situation, but it was too late. Airport security apprehended him, leading to his arrest. They gave me 20 minutes to pay or be arrested. 20 minutes came around and that was it. Handcuffs on and off we go. He was subsequently detained in some Brecon prison where he described the conditions. They put you in heavy chains, literally 12 millimeters thick steel shackles hammered onto your ankles, which you wear for the entire day. Despite the dire circumstances, he found moments of levity and support from fellow inmates and even prison staff. I had a really hot translator who was a young intern or student, and she was rooting for me like mad. She turned to me once and said, I steal all the time. She cried when I was sentenced. It was emotional actually now that I think about it. After serving, during a year, his sentence was reduced for good behavior, and he was released. Reflecting on his experience, he offered to answer questions from the Reddit community. That's the today I fucked up. I'll leave the rest of the questions up to you. You can ask me about the conditions, the legal system, the corruption, the people I met, the food, the sleeping arrangements, or those prison-hardened later boys. His candid recounting serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of substance abuse and the complexities of foreign legal systems. Use a switchstance. I never meant to hurt her. The post appeared late at night. Just text on a black screen in the r/confession subreddit titled, I never meant to hurt her. I just wanted her to need me. The username was u/switchstance, and the account was new. No post history, no comments, just one chilling message. It began almost like a love story. Or maybe more accurately, an obsession disguised as care. She wasn't like anyone I'd met before. Confident, outgoing, magnetic. Everyone loved her, and for some reason she liked me. Me, the quiet guy in the back of the lecture hall who never raised his hand. The writer describes becoming friends with this woman in college. He never names her, just calls her M. At first, I was happy just being near her. I thought I could handle being just friends. But then I started doing little things, helping her study, fixing her laptop, bringing her coffee. I told myself I was just being nice, but really, I was trying to make her need me. Then it takes a disturbing turn. I started inserting myself more, giving her advice she didn't ask for, making comments about the guys she dated, saying they didn't treat her right. I played the concerned friend, and it worked. She started leaning on me, she cried on my shoulder, told me I was the only person who really listened. He describes how their friendship turned codependent, but only on her side. From his end, it was calculated. I fed her insecurities back to her in small doses. Nothing cruel. Just enough to keep her doubting herself, to make me the only person she could really trust. Then comes the most haunting line at the post. I never laid a hand on her. I never shouted, but I controlled her just the same. Eventually, M started distancing herself. She got into a new relationship, moved out of town. And the author, switchstance, wrote that he spiraled. When she stopped answering my messages, I panicked. I told myself I was heartbroken, but now I think I was just losing control. The post ends with a quiet, devastating admission. I don't know if what I did count as abuse, but if it does, I don't think I can ever forgive myself. After that, the post was removed. The account was deleted within hours. No one knows if any of this was real. There's no identifying details, no evidence, but the way it was written, the calmness, the honesty, the complete lack of melodrama made it feel real. It forced readers to confront an uncomfortable truth. Manipulation doesn't always look violent. Sometimes it wears the mask of kindness. The post didn't go viral. It didn't spark outrage. It just vanished. Like the thousands of moments no one talks about. Moments that leave no scars, but change you forever. This one was posted in the r/truthmicist subreddit. A user named RoyoBoat13 made the thread titled simply, "My brother doesn't know I exist." The post didn't scream for attention. No dramatic title. No clickbait. But what followed was one of the most unsettling confessions to ever disappear from Reddit. It started with a tone that almost felt poetic. I know everything about him, what he likes, how he styles his hair, the way he walks with one foot slightly turned in. He always taps his fingers to the beat of whatever song is stuck in his head. He doesn't know I'm watching, but I always am. At first, readers assumed it was a metaphor, a deep emotional story, maybe an estranged sibling or someone mourning a twin lost at birth. But the next paragraph changed everything. He's 18 now, a senior in high school, lives with our dad and stepmom in Connecticut. I've never met him, never spoken to him, but I've watched him grow up. I've seen every birthday party from a distance. I've sat in parked cars near his school just to see what his laugh looks like. That's when people realized this wasn't metaphor. It was surveillance. The writer explains that they were the product of an affair. Their mother had a brief relationship with the man who became the father of the brother in question. But after the affair ended, the man returned to his family. He never knew a second child had been born. My mother told me when I was 12. She was drunk. I think she meant to hurt me with it. But all it did was give me purpose. A target. A person to focus on. From there the tone becomes obsessive. I created a burner social media profile so I could watch him. I made playlists with his favorite songs. I even got a job that let me travel, just so I could pass through his town a few times a year. The most disturbing part, the writer never expresses anger or jealousy. Just longing, obsession wrapped in calculated words. I don't want to hurt him. I just want him to see me, to know I'm real, that he's not alone in the world, that there's someone else made from the same man's blood. Then, the post ends with a sentence that has haunted every person who's ever read it. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk to him for the first time. I just haven't decided if I'll tell him who I am, or just pretend to be a stranger who wanted to say hi. And then, silence. The post was deleted within the hour. The account wiped. No follow-up. No confirmation. Just a quiet, obsessive confession that now lives on in memory. Reddit users searched for similar posts. Some even tried to dig into old burner accounts, archived versions of the profile. But like so many of the eeriest stories on Reddit, this one left no fingerprints. That was Tier 1, the surface. Still visible, still familiar, but with enough oddities to raise suspicion. But this iceberg, it goes deep. And in the next tier, the disappearances, bans, and buried posts begin to feel less like moderation and more like cover-ups. If this intrigued you, help the video reach more people by liking, commenting, and subscribing. It genuinely helps push the series forward. And let me know down below. What kind of video would you like to see next? Thanks again for being here. Hit the like button and sub. Some Reddit mysteries go viral. Others stay buried. These are the accounts you only stumble across in archive threads, or mentioned by someone who says, "Does anyone else remember this?" They didn't just vanish. They left behind something strange. Unfinished puzzles, sudden breakdowns, or stories that stop mid-sentence. and no one's heard from them since. Hey, welcome back to the channel. We're on a mission to hit 1,000 subscribers, so if you're into Reddit stories and Iceberg-style videos, I'd love to have you on board. And if you've heard of any creepy Reddit users who just disappeared, or if a name on this list jogs a memory, drop it in the comments below. It seriously helps push this video into the algorithm. T2 is where things start getting harder to explain. These aren't the biggest names, but they've stuck with people for a reason. Let's dive in. 1 minute and 14 seconds. There are strange corners of Reddit. Some are filled with bizarre confessions, others with forgotten ciphers. But very few have sparked the kind of intense speculation and real-world investigation as the case of u/ReligionOfPeace. This isn't just a story about a deleted account. It's a rabbit hole that led thousands of people to believe they may have stumbled upon a digital front for a group of hired killers. The story begins on a now-defunct subreddit called r/ReligionOfPeace run by the user of the same name. On the surface, this user had a reputation for being aggressive and opinionated, frequently commenting on news threads, particularly ones involving the Middle East, war, or military action. He claimed to be an older man, a military veteran. He often spoke with a kind of brutal frankness, calling younger Redditors kiddo and boasting about dropping bodies in past conflicts. Most people brushed him off as a cranky ex-soldier with too much time on his hands. But everything changed when he died. On July 17, 2009, a Reddit user named 2to6 posted a thread titled "The End of Religion of Peace." It was a short obituary. It said that Milo, the real name behind Religion of Peace, had passed away at the age of 79. It read like a farewell post from a close friend, or possibly a caretaker. The tone was oddly informal, ending with the line, "He died at his desk, in front of the computer." Milo was a mean old bastard, but he was one of the good ones. It seemed like a respectful goodbye, but Reddit users noticed something strange. The comment was signed by a username that had barely posted before, and when people started digging, they found something much darker. In the user profile of Religion of Peace, there was a link, a throwaway domain called lakecityquietpills.com, which at first glance, it looked like nothing. The homepage said, "That old guy's image host and hidden in the site's source code." It says, "Dispensing Lake City Quiet Pills to lousy bastards since 1968. If you're not familiar, Lake City refers to a US ammunition manufacturer. Quiet pills. That's slang for bullets. Digging more into the site's code revealed something chilling. Hidden in the HTML were job postings. But they weren't normal jobs. They had phrases like immediate need. 12. SA Spanish speaking. No papers required. No records kept. 4-week paid sequester, if refused. 4. Italian or Spanish speakers. No euro. Must be bondable. The listings rotated regularly. Sometimes they included dates, locations, weights, possibly referring to targets. Many believed it was code for contract hits. It wasn't just a Reddit oddity anymore. It felt like a window into a real-life assassination ring. Here's where it gets even darker. In January 2010, just a few months after these job listings were discovered, Mahmoud al-Mabou, a senior Hamas commander, was assassinated in a luxury hotel room in Dubai. The operation was meticulous. Surveillance cameras caught the suspects, many of whom used fake passports and disappeared before they could be caught. Reddit users quickly pointed out the timing. Some of the hidden job posts on Lake City Quiet Pills had lined up eerily close to the assassination. Was it just coincidence, or had the internet accidentally stumbled upon the back end of a covert operation? After the attention exploded, the website was stripped, the job listings disappeared, the lakecityquietpills.com domain eventually expired, and the accounts involved, Religion of Peace, 2to6, and others linked to them, were deleted or abandoned. To this day, no one has proven that Milo was part of any assassination network, but the details remain unsettlingly plausible. What started as a quirky obituary on Reddit became one of the platform's most enduring mysteries, a story of bullets, buried code, and a trail of quiet pills. On the 29th of April, 2024, a post quietly appeared on Reddit's r/relationship advice subreddit with the title, "My boyfriend of 6 years disappeared while I was out of town, and I don't know what to do." It was written by a throwaway account, u/throwraw3258, and what followed was one of the most haunting, emotional, and unexpected unravelings Reddit had seen in months. The original post began like many others in r/relationship advice. Calm, slightly panicked, but rooted in logic. Last Tuesday evening, I, 32 female, came home from being out of town for 2 weeks for work. My boyfriend, 35 male, Nate, was supposed to pick me up from the airport. But once I got in, I wasn't able to get a hold of him, and he never showed up. She tried to brush it off. Maybe he fell asleep. He'd mentioned being tired earlier that day, but when she got home, things felt wrong. When I got home, Nate was nowhere to be found. I checked the garage and his car was gone. When I opened the closet to put my things away, I saw that almost all of his clothes were gone. Suddenly, what seemed like a small mix-up spiraled into something terrifying. His phone rang and rang before going to voicemail. His clothes were missing, but everything else was left behind. His computer, his work gear, even his iPad. She logged into everything she could. She knew all his passwords and found nothing unusual until her sister had an idea. We logged into the Find My iPhone app and saw that his phone was pinging in the next state over. At this point, fear crept in. She called the police. They said there wasn't much they could do because he hadn't been gone long and his missing clothes were a sign he left on his own volition. But this wasn't just some disappearing act. There was no note, no explanation. His friends hadn't heard from him. His last debit card transaction showed up in a small town just west of Seattle, Washington. Then came the emotional gut punch. I am 5 months pregnant, and we've known for 3 months. And he knew too. Her desperation turned into action. She and her sister booked a flight to Seattle. Before they left, someone on Reddit suggested she request a welfare check at the house where his phone was last pinged. It worked. The police were able to do a welfare check, and although they were unable to make direct contact with him, they spoke to the couple who live at the house. The couple said Nate had been there the prior weekend. According to them, he left Sunday morning to go hiking in the Olympic Mountains. They described themselves as old family friends and offered to reach out to the original poster with more information. But what they shared next turned everything upside down. They have known Nate since he was 12 years old. He started dating their daughter Ashley in 6th grade. They dated all through middle school and high school. Ashley had gotten pregnant their senior year. They got engaged. Life was just beginning. When their son was 1.5 years old, they were involved in an accident with a drunk driver. Nate was ejected from the car. Ashley and his son passed away. This, the loss of a young family, was something he had never told OP. She'd been with him for 6 years, lived with him, was carrying his child. And yet, she writes, she, Ashley's mother, said that he blames himself for it because, according to him, they were never supposed to be out that night. It was his fault they were. She went on. She concluded her update with heavy but understanding words. That final update was posted the night before she boarded the plane to Seattle. There have been no posts since. The account has remained silent. No further comments. No follow-up. The Reddit community, which had rallied around her with support and advice, was left holding their breath, hoping she found him. Hoping he found peace. Hoping she got the closure she needed, for herself and for their unborn child. It began with a username that didn't look human. Such a mouthful. Just a string of letters and numbers. Most people would scroll past without a second thought. But for the curious, the code breakers, the internet detectives, it became one of Reddit's deepest unsolved puzzles. A mystery that stretched across years, hidden messages, advanced ciphers, and the eerie silence of someone or something that never spoke a word. The account first appeared in 2011, no introduction, no context. Just a post to a seemingly obscure subreddit, RA858, a subreddit named after the user itself. The post? A long block of hexadecimal code. At first, no one paid attention, but then it posted again and again, dozens of strings of seemingly random letters and numbers. No commentary, no engagement, no votes. Just pure cold code. That's when Reddit did what Reddit does best. People started decoding. Cryptographers, hobbyists, programmers, they all joined in. Some strings were deciphered into ASCII text, base 64, even Braille representations. Eventually, one string translated into a sentence. The intelligent people are the key to solving this. Others included oddly poetic fragments like, if I am not real, then why do I exist? It became a full-blown community obsession. A separate subreddit, r/solvingA858, was created solely to crack the code. Hundreds of users tried to reverse engineer the encryption, decode patterns, and find meaning in the madness. The most disturbing part, some of it was solvable. just enough to feel like there was a mind on the other side. But most of the strings led nowhere. Then in 2016, after 5 years of cryptic activity, the post suddenly stopped. No farewell. No explanation. Just silence. The subreddit was locked. The account went inactive. Attempts to reach out. Nothing. Redditors were left with a digital graveyard of unsolved ciphers, and one haunting question. Was it ever meant to be solved? But the story doesn't quite end there. In 2018, a single post appeared from the account. A message, translated from yet another block of code, simply read, "You have already done so much, why not go further?" It was like a voice from the grave, beckoning people to continue down the rabbit hole, but nothing followed. That was the last anyone ever heard from the account. Some believed it was a test, maybe for a cryptography job or part of a recruitment puzzle. Others thought it was the work of a reclusive genius with too much time. The more paranoid believed it was AI, or a dead man's automated code, or worse, that we were never meant to decode it in the first place. Because sometimes the message isn't what's written. It's that someone was writing it at all. Reddit has seen countless mysteries, hoaxes, and odds. But 858 remains one of the few cases that defies explanation. A ghost in the machine, speaking in code, and then vanishing without a trace. That wraps up Tier 2. These cases may not be as viral as the ones you've already heard of, but in a way that makes them creepier. They're the kinds of stories that almost slipped through the cracks. The ones that never got closure. Just usernames, fragments of posts, and the silence that followed. If you're still watching, thank you. Seriously. This series takes a lot of research and late nights digging through deleted threads, archive links, and obscure subs. So if you've been enjoying it, make sure you're subscribed. Especially if you want to see more. It's darker, weirder, and way more unsettling. And hit that like button. It's a small thing, but it really helps the channel grow. If you've made it this far into the iceberg, you already know this isn't just about people going offline. A quick note before we go deeper. Some of you are confused by the title, Reddit users who vanished. Yeah, I get it. Not all of these users literally disappeared from real life. But try fitting Reddit users who went missing, deactivated, deleted, or just went weirdly silent without explanation into a YouTube title. So yeah, bear with me. What ties all these accounts together isn't just that they are gone, it's how they vanished, why people noticed, and the strange digital traces they left behind. Tier 3 is where things start to get heavier. Less speculation and more dread. Let's get into it. Reddit has long been a place for confession. Whether it's petty crimes, strange secrets, or taboo thoughts. There's a subreddit for that. And in 2013, r/confession bear was a place where Redditors shared taboo truths behind the safety of a meme, a sad-looking bear. Usually things like cheating, stealing, or private thoughts they couldn't tell anyone. But one user took it too far. It was a possible murder confession. And it came from a now-deleted user named u/Narrato. In a single image, Narrato dropped a chilling line. "I killed him with his own drugs while he was unconscious, and they ruled it an overdose." No context, no details. Just a cold, flat confession posted for the world to see. The internet did what it always does. The post quickly gained hundreds of upvotes, and the comments exploded with a mix of disbelief, horror, and concern. The post rapidly gained attention across Reddit and even mainstream media. According to a 2013 UPI report, users flooded the comments demanding more information, some urging the original poster to clarify, others threatening to report it to the police. And eventually, they did. Within days, the user tried to backpedal. They claimed it was all a joke, just a twisted use of the confession bear meme. A bad idea, they said. A poor attempt at internet humor. But the damage was already done. The post was flagged. The username was traced. And soon after, Narrato vanished. The account was deleted, leaving behind nothing but screenshots, speculation, and a deep sense of unease. Law enforcement did reportedly look into the case, but no public charges were ever filed. No follow-up story. No official conclusion. Which brings up a disturbing possibility. Was it really a joke? Or was it the perfect crime, hidden in plain sight? A message delivered to thousands, under the veil of anonymity, on a site that thrives on chaos and desensitization. A place where even a confession of murder can be laughed off, upvoted and forgotten. Reddit is filled with anonymous users. Fake names, throwaway accounts, and no shortage of people willing to say just about anything for attention. But every now and then, one of them might be telling the truth. And when that truth involves someone dying and the user simply vanishing afterward, it doesn't just make for a creepy post. It makes for a digital ghost story, one where the killer might still be out there, watching. Before December 2022, u/criminology student was just another username buried in the endless scroll of Reddit. A relatively obscure account, it surfaced in a few true crime and academic circles, mostly unnoticed by the wider Reddit population. But that changed overnight. Because this wasn't just any Reddit user. It was allegedly the online alias of Brian Koboga, the man later arrested for the horrifying murders of 4 University of Idaho students, a case that would shock the nation. Long before the crime made headlines, Koboga, then a PhD student studying criminal justice at Washington State University, was reportedly recruiting participants for a psychological research project through Reddit. And the subject: criminal behavior. Specifically, the thoughts and emotions behind committing a crime. In the now-deleted post, the user identifying himself as Brian asked for participants, criminals, to open up about their offenses, detailing how they felt while committing them. The tone was academic, almost clinical. He stated, "This study seeks to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense, with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience." He even included the name of his university, DeSales University, and provided a supposedly anonymous survey link hosted by Qualtrics, a common platform used for academic research. On the surface, it looked like a legitimate grad school project. But with hindsight, it reads differently. The irony: the man asking criminals to explain their decisions would soon become the suspect in one of the most brutal and senseless crimes in recent memory. Koboga was arrested in December 2022, accused of entering an off-campus residence in the early hours of the morning and stabbing 4 college students to death. What made it all the more disturbing was his alleged obsession with the criminal mind and his documented history of studying violent behavior. According to former professors and classmates, Koboga had a deep academic interest in forensic psychology, serial killers, and murder case methodology. He reportedly had conversations about the emotional detachment involved in killing and even debated how to get away with crimes. Which begs the question, was the Reddit post part of a legitimate academic study? Or was it a glimpse into how he planned his own crime? Reddit removed the account shortly after the arrest, and while the original post is gone, screenshots have been preserved and spread across Reddit, X, formerly Twitter, and countless true crime forums. Even more unsettling, the Qualtrics survey link, at the time, was real and led to a functioning questionnaire. Some Reddit users admitted they clicked out of morbid curiosity. Others wondered what kind of people actually filled it out. Was this user merely collecting data, or building a blueprint? We'll never know how deeply Koboga's Reddit activity ties into his alleged actions, but one thing is clear. Criminology student didn't just vanish. He morphed from observer to participant, from student of crime to a suspect. Masterminds, but by a 19-year-old student alone in his room, armed with nothing more than Photoshop, ChatGPT, and desperation. It begins in India, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Board exams were cancelled, schools were disrupted, and like millions of students across the country, Aryan Anand, known only by his Reddit alias, u/throwaway123456, found himself direct 10th grade. He wrote, "I wanted to do well, but I just couldn't understand anything in physics or chemistry." He failed to crack the JEE India's grueling engineering entrance exam and barely scraped by an 11th grade with a 49% average. By 12th, Aryan had all but checked out. He admitted to spending months watching horror movies all night long, sleeping all day, while his parents assumed he was studying. But when the realization hit that he wouldn't even make it to a local college, he panicked. And then, he planned. Aryan began researching U.S. universities that offered full financial aid to international students. These are rare, highly selective, elite schools, offering full-ride packages only to the best of the best. But Aryan was far from that. So, he fabricated everything. His grades, his predicted scores, his extracurriculars, even the school's email address. He edited his Class 9 to 11 report cards, forged a 12th grade prediction sheet, bought a fake principal's seal, and registered a domain nearly identical to his real high school's website. From there, he created a fake official email, something like principal@schoolname.com, and used it to verify his credentials. Then came the essays. ChatGPT wrote them. He admitted bluntly. He fed it samples of successful college essays, prompting it to imitate tone and structure, and it worked well enough to pass as legitimate. He applied to nearly every U.S. college that met 100% of financial need and, as expected, the rejections poured in. Ivy Leagues, top-tier schools, dozens of denials. But one school, a top 25 ranked university in the U.S., accepted him, with a nearly full ride. But Arian wasn't done yet. The university asked for proof of his family's financial situation, and while the aid package covered most expenses, $5,000 per year remained unpaid. That's when Arian did something that shocked even Reddit's most cynical readers. He faked his father's death certificate, claiming that his dad, a living, breathing government employee, had died of cancer. He submitted the forged certificate to the university, explaining that his now widowed mother was living on a government pension and that even $5,000 was unaffordable. The university believed him. They increased his aid to cover every single cost: tuition, meals, housing, and even one round-trip flight to India per year. But there was still one final obstacle: his actual board results. Arian had scored 58%, barely passing. So, he forged a new transcript showing 91%, emailed it from the fake school account, and the university accepted it without question. Back in India, friends and relatives were stunned. His phone buzzed with congratulations. Parents of classmates asked for his guidance. And only he knew every document, every accolade, every word of his application was a lie. My dad even said, "You don't even know basic math. How did this happen?" But the illusion wouldn't last forever. Arian went for his visa interview at the U.S. consulate, and even there, luck followed him. He passed. His visa was approved. And before long, he was boarding a flight to the American dream, built entirely on lies. Months later, he returned to Reddit, not to boast, but to confess. His post, titled, "I have built my life and career on lies and fraud," read like a digital suicide note, not for his life, but for the persona he'd built. The post went viral. Screenshots spread across Twitter, Indian news outlets, and college forums. Within days, the university launched an investigation. Arian Anand was expelled, his visa revoked, and within weeks he was deported back to India. His entire future, built on illusion, collapsed. "There was a moment," he wrote, "when I told my parents I had gotten in. They were so proud, and all I felt was guilt." Some of the most haunting stories on Reddit don't come from trolls, hoaxes, or cryptic args. Sometimes, they come from real people, recounting the worst days of their lives. And Beapi was one of them. Her post, simply titled, "I got my mother sent to prison." On the surface, it looked like a confession of guilt, but what followed was a raw, gut-wrenching story of survival, responsibility, and betrayal. Beapi, just 14 years old at the time, wrote about growing up with a mother who was, as she put it, in and out of abusive relationships and sketchy situations. She didn't spend much time with her growing up, but when her mum gave birth to two younger daughters, Beapi's half-sisters, it seemed, briefly, like things might improve. Her mother used money she'd earned through drug dealing to purchase a dilapidated house in a rough neighborhood of Indianapolis, hoping to start over. With help from her partner, an undocumented immigrant working long hours under the table, she began renovating the home, trying to build a life. But the fresh start didn't last. Beapi explained that as her mother slipped back into drug use, the household unraveled quickly. The father was hardly home, working non-stop, the mother smoking crack, often in front of the kids. And so, at just 14 years old, Beapi became the primary caregiver to her younger sisters, helping them with school, food, and daily care. She was still just a child herself. As she put it, "I was only 14 at the time, otherwise I would have tried working as well." But things didn't just stop at drugs. Beapi started noticing men coming and going, unusual behavior, and growing suspicions that her mother wasn't just using, she was endangering her children. Eventually, she made a decision no child should have to make. She contacted authorities, and when the investigation unfolded, the truth was more horrific than she could have ever imagined. Her mother wasn't just smoking crack. She was eventually convicted of child trafficking and sentenced to 34 years in prison. Following the post, Beapi's Reddit account disappeared. The original thread was reposted and screenshot across Reddit and Twitter, sparking debate not about whether the story was true, but how someone so young found the strength to do what needed to be done. Beapi's identity was never confirmed, but her story reflects a painful truth. Sometimes the people we trust most are the ones we must escape. And sometimes, justice comes not from a courtroom, but from a teenager with no other choice. And that wraps up Tier 3 of the Iceberg. If you're still here, seriously, thanks for sticking around this deep. These stories aren't just creepy. They are disorienting. The kind that sit with you long after the video ends. If you found this tier interesting, or if one of these cases got under your skin, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear which one hit hardest. Or if there's a case you think deserves to be on this list, hit the like button if you're into this series. It really helps it get pushed to more curious people like us. And if you're new here and want to see just how deep this iceberg goes, subscribe. We're aiming for that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and every click gets us one step closer. Thanks for watching. Until next time. See you guys.